Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today I have one of the more exciting ones of the month, and one of my favorite videos to make is the top 10 best-selling discs of the month at my disc golf store. For those of you that don't know me, I am co-owner of a disc golf store called Disc Zone, which is in Santa Cruz, California. And we've been open for a little over a year now. So pretty exciting stuff for us. But before we get into the video, I didn't make videos this past week. I was gone for a little bit, but now I'm back, and hopefully I'll start making a lot more videos now. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. For disc number 10 on this list, we have the 2025 Champions Cup Particle Glow Proton Wave. This is a disc that's obviously for pre-order. I actually reviewed this disc in a recent video I made with Avi, reviewing all 8 discs in the Champions Cup release. And this was definitely a very solid disc. Definitely a little bit more understable than I anticipated. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it in the description below. But obviously this disc isn't available yet. It's only available for pre-order. So kind of surprised that this made the top 10 list, but kind of excited for the overall release. I believe it's April 16th. But overall, stoked on the support and glad it made the top 10 list. Getting into disc number 9 on this list, we have the Discraft Z-Swirl Captain's Raptor. I believe it's Paul Ulibarri's special edition disc. And this is actually kind of a surprising make for me. I was expecting it to be a little bit more popular, but I didn't have too high of expectations. I definitely didn't think it would make the top 10. So this was pretty awesome. For those of you that don't know, Captain's Raptor, just a really overstable Raptor, something you could put on Anheuser and you can expect it to come back. And I don't believe they're going to be making a stock run. I only have a certain amount of these left, but for those of you that got them, really stoked for the support. Glad it's in the top 10 list. Getting into disc number 8 in this list, we have a newcomer. It is the Neutron Terra from MVP. This is a disc that actually surprisingly just became suddenly popular for some reason at my store. I had a solid amount of people get some of these Terras, and for me personally, I've actually never thrown one. The flight numbers are 8503, but from what I've heard from other people, it's significantly more overstable and less glidey. However, I'll have to try it out myself. I'm assuming it's very similar to a Fireball. But yeah, made the top 10 list. Let me know if you guys have ever thrown a Terra and if you think I should try one out. This is definitely, I must say, probably one of the more underrated molds from MVP. They make so many great molds, but I rarely ever see any pros or any amateurs really throwing the Terra. So pretty cool for that to make the list. Getting into disc number 7, we have something that's much more familiar. It is the James Conrad Neutron Detour, another disc in the James Conrad Signature Series lineup. It is an understable midrange that I personally use in my bag. Everyone knows this midrange. It'll get that nice hyzer flip to drift, but it won't really dump on you, which is really why I like this midrange. You can get a lot of distance out of it because of it. So it'll have that nice like drifty movement from left to right. And it's really useful for me because I don't throw many forehands, even though my forehand is getting much better. This is definitely a disc I've leaned on for all left to right leaning shots. No surprise that this has made the top 10 list. If you haven't tried one out, I highly suggest you should. Getting into disc number 6 on this list, I don't believe I've actually ever had this in the top 10. It is the Eclipse Crave. This is a disc that's been highly requested at my shop as of March. And I think it's for a couple reasons. One, the Crave is obviously a very popular fairway driver from Axiom. It is a disc that gets a good amount of distance for a 6-speed. However, from a recent unboxing video, although this one doesn't show it, the Eclipse Craves came out pretty domey. I think a lot of people were interested about that and curious to see how they fly. Although I haven't tried one myself, I'm assuming that it would be a little bit more glidier, which is pretty insane because the Crave already has so much glide, especially when it's the Eclipse plastic, which makes it a little bit more stable, in my opinion. If it has that little bit of dome, it might push far, but still have that nice, slightly stable finish. I am stoked to see the Eclipse Crave make the list, and hopefully it makes the list in future months. Getting into the top 5 in this list, we now have the classic Neutron Soft Glitch. This is a disc I believe that has made the list every single time I made one of these videos, and it's for good reason. You know the glitch, everybody does. Perfect beginner disc, perfect warm-up disc. I don't need to say much more. That is number 5 on this list. Getting into disc number 4, we have another familiar face, the Neutron Hex. This disc has become increasingly more popular, and actually, I'm not even sure if it made the list last month. However, I did make an unboxing video, and this was the next batch of discs that I got that were fairly domey. Although, again, this one isn't domey. But I think people were pretty curious about that to see how they would fly. I like when MVP's discs are really flat, feels really comfortable in the hand. But I think some people were really curious on how a domey MVP disc would fly. Crave, obviously, I talked about, and also the Hex is included. So very cool. But besides that, one of the more popular mid-ranges in the world today. So no surprise, it makes this list. Now, getting into the top 3 in this list. To me, this is probably one of the more surprising appearances in my top 10 list. For some of you, you might think this is a no-brainer, but it is the Anthony Barella first run Zline Cicada. And this is a disc I actually did a review of when it first came out, when I first got it in my store. And I compared it to the Cicada, because this is just an overstable modified Cicada, to test the differences. And to me, it didn't have as much glide as the numbers said. And I think it was a tad bit more overstable than the numbers indicate. However, I only threw it like a handful of times. Still, it was an extremely popular disc when it first came out. And obviously, it made the top 3 best sellers of the month, which is pretty solid. I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you've tried a Cicada, how you liked it. Was it overstable? Did it fly true to the flight numbers? I'd be really curious to see what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. But that was number 3 on this list. And getting into disc number 2 on this list, we have the Neutron Trail. I'm almost positive this disc has never been outside the top 5. Every time I think it's not going to be popular one month, it somehow comes back and makes the top 10 and makes the top 5 every single month. And for good reason. In my opinion, and most likely, is the most popular MVP disc on the market in terms of stock runs. It's a disc that I hear everybody talk about every other day. Someone's coming in talking about the trail, how they love it, how they use it for hyzer flips, how they use it for straight shots, how they go so much further than their 12-speed distance driver. Based on all those things, the trail still continues to be one of the best sellers at my shop. I'm actually really curious to see if any other companies will make something of similar caliber. Innova has the Gorgon, which is flight numbers 10.6 -21, but is definitely highly overshadowed by the trail. Maybe Discraft will make something similar, or maybe Innova will come out with a different mold, or another company to rival the trail, because this is definitely one of the most popular discs in the world right now, and it's for good reason. Stoked to see it in the number 2 slot for this month. Getting into the number 1 slot, my best seller at my store in March of 2025, we have the Particle Glow Proton Soft Proxy. Now, I don't have one with me right now because we sold out, but I ended up doing a review of that disc with Manny at De La, and it was definitely one of the better proxies we have ever tested, we have ever thrown. Manny is the proxy master, so for him to throw a proxy that he's never thrown before and ace run many holes at De La, it was pretty sick. And it's just a disc that you can't go wrong with. It's a straight flying putter, very neutral. And actually the Particle Glow Proton soft run was a little bit more stable than a typical Neutron or Eclipse run, in my opinion. And I think that upped the popularity just a little bit more because it kind of fits in between a proxy and an envy. I mean, more on the proxy side, but still extremely good run. And even Simon Lizotte coined it himself as one of his favorite, if not his favorite proxy ever. And honestly stoked that the Silva Saarinen Particle Glow Proton Soft Proxy made the number 1 spot. With that being said, those were all the discs in my top 10 best-selling discs at my store for March of 2025. We had the usual suspects, and we had some newcomers like the Neutron Terra and the Eclipse Crave. Pretty stoked on this list. Very surprising to me that 80% of the discs I just showed you were MVP. I think this is the first month that there was no Innova, which was extremely surprising. And for the discs that weren't MVP, it was 2 special edition releases from Discraft. So for my store, kind of goes to show you that MVP is definitely taken over in terms of the Santa Cruz County and the West Coast. Obviously, for other stores, it may be different. I'm sure on the East Coast, there's a lot more disc craft, but still, MVP is for sure making a huge impact in the disc golf market, and I'm kind of stoked to see it. I hope other manufacturers start experimenting with some new technology to try to rival MVP, but I guess we'll see. Besides that, that kind of does it for this video. As always, I appreciate all the support. Thank you guys for watching. If you want to support me, check out my website, www.discone.com. I do ship for free if you buy more than $36 worth of stuff. So if you buy a couple discs, I ship it to you for free. I don't know if any other store has a lower shipping threshold than me, but besides that, all the support has been killer. Ever since I started my YouTube channel, I'm extremely appreciative of all your guys' likes. If you subscribe to me, if you check out my website, everything means a lot. So thank you guys all for that. But that kind of does it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.